I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. 5 years of marriage, 2 kids, a life I thought we'd built on trust. We'd always been pretty solid. At least I believed that. Sarah, my wife, was the kind of woman who looked perfect on the surface. Caring, charming, always putting on a good face around friends and family. But I guess I was blind to the cracks in our foundation because I never saw what was really going on behind closed doors. It all started when we decided to do a surprise family trip. Just a weekend getaway, a chance to escape the daily grind. We packed the kids into the car, all excited, and drove to a cozy hotel by the coast. The beach, the fresh air, the kids running wild, it felt like we were finally reconnecting. Or so I thought. I'd been feeling a little off lately, like something was bothering Sarah, but she'd brush it off with a joke or a quick kiss on the cheek. I figured maybe she was just stressed about work or the kids, nothing serious. That night, after we'd tucked everyone into bed, I was lying on the bed scrolling through my phone, half watching TV when I decided to check her phone. No big deal, right? I had a hunch she was hiding something and I didn't want to confront her without proof. I unlocked her phone and started swiping through messages. At first, it was just innocent stuff, photos of the kids, funny memes, her usual work emails. But then I saw the notifications popping up from her messages with someone named Mark. My stomach clenched. I'd heard her mention her boss, Mark, before, but I'd never suspected anything. Now the messages were suspicious, flirty, playful, and way too frequent for work talk. I hesitated, my fingers trembling. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I couldn't deny the gut feeling gnawing at me. I read a few texts. Can't wait to see you tonight. Don't forget to lock the hotel door. Miss you already. My skin crawled. My heart started pounding in my chest and my palms went slick. How long had this been going on? Was I really that blind? I looked over at Sarah, sleeping peacefully, her face relaxed, her breath even. She looked so innocent, so unaware that I just uncovered something that could tear everything apart. I felt a surge of anger mixed with a deep, sickening hurt. How could she do this to us? To me, to the family we built? The betrayal was like a punch to my gut, making it hard to breathe. I closed her phone slowly, my mind racing. I knew I couldn't confront her that night. Not yet. But I also knew I needed a plan. I couldn't let this go. I had to find out just how deep the rabbit hole went. I had to gather evidence, figure out her moves. She was clever, I'd give her that. She'd cover her tracks well. But I'd catch her again, I promised myself that, somehow. As I lay there staring at the ceiling, I could feel the weight of the betrayal pressing down on me. I clenched my fists so tight my knuckles turned white. My stomach twisted, and a dull ache spread behind my eyes. I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but I was done being the naive husband. If Sarah thought she could cheat and get away with it, she had another thing coming. I just didn't know yet how I was going to turn this around. It wasn't just about catching her. It was about sending a message. She was going to regret crossing me. I could feel it in my bones. The silence in the room was deafening, but inside my head everything was loud, my anger, my resolve, my need for justice. This was only the beginning. The next morning I woke up with a heavy cloud hanging over me. The image of her text still burned in my mind, and my stomach felt like it was tied in knots. I needed to see more. I had to know if this was a one-time slip or something she was actively hiding. I spent the morning pretending everything was normal, but inside I was simmering. My mind kept circling back to that phone. I kept thinking about what to do next, how to catch her in the act again, or maybe just get enough proof to confront her with confidence. Sarah was in the kitchen, humming to herself, pouring coffee. She looked so innocent, way too normal. She was rubbing her hands over her belly, probably thinking about the day ahead. I kept my eyes on her, and I felt a strange mix. Rage and disgust. I didn't say anything, but I couldn't stop myself from watching her every move. At breakfast, she smiled at me as if nothing was wrong. "Morning, babe, sleep okay?" she asked, glancing at me with those big, innocent eyes. "Yeah, fine," I mumbled, trying to keep my voice even. Inside, I was boiling. I wanted to scream, "You're full of shit," but instead I just nodded. I decided I needed a backup plan. I couldn't keep digging through her phone every night. That was dangerous. I needed something more concrete, something I could use when I confronted her. I started thinking about installing a discreet app on her phone, something that could record her messages and calls without her noticing. I knew it was sneaky, but I was beyond caring about ethics right now. Revenge was about getting that proof, and I was determined to do whatever it took. Later that day, I found myself lurking around her laptop, waiting for her to step out of the room. When she left to take the kids to the park, I quickly logged into her email account, set up the recording software, and left everything running. If she was still texting Mark from her phone, she'd do it on her laptop too. I was betting on it. My palms felt clammy, but I kept telling myself, you need this. You need to see it, hear it, prove it. The rest of the day dragged. I kept pretending to be busy, but my mind was in overdrive. Every time I heard her voice or saw her smile, I felt the urge to explode. When she finally sat down in the evening with a glass of wine, I couldn't hold it in anymore. Sarah, can we talk? I asked, trying to sound calm but failing miserably. She looked up, her eyes narrowing slightly. What's wrong? I need to know what's going on. Are you cheating on me? Her face froze for a beat, then she laughed a little too nervously. What are you talking about? I pulled out her phone, showing her the messages from Mark. Her eyes widened just enough for me to see the panic. You've been lying to me, sending him secret texts behind my back. How long has this been going on? She swallowed hard, her lips trembling. It's nothing, I swear. It was a mistake. I was just stressed. Stressed? I scoffed, feeling my fists clench. That's bullshit. Don't lie to me. I caught you red-handed. Her face darkened. You have no right to accuse me. Right? You think I'm stupid. I saw the texts. I know everything. She looked away, silent. That's when I knew I'd caught her, but I also knew I was just getting started. I wasn't going to let her walk away that easily, not without consequences. I'd already started planning what I would do next. The moment her eyes flicked back to me, I realized I'd crossed a line, but I didn't care. I was done with her lies. The betrayal had cut too deep. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. And I was ready to make her regret it. That's when I started forming my plan, a plan she wouldn't see coming. But for now, I just looked at her and said, we're done pretending. You'll regret this, Sarah. I promise you that. The confrontation left a bitter taste in my mouth that I couldn't wash away. Sarah's face was blank, her eyes darting, like she was trying to figure out how I'd caught her so quickly. Her lips parted, maybe to lie again, but I cut her off before she could speak. You've been playing me for months, I said, voice tight. While I was working, while we were supposed to be building this life together, you were sneaking around with your boss. Mark, right? I want to know how deep this goes. She swallowed hard, her hands trembling. It was just a stupid mistake. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was overwhelmed, and I didn't want to hurt you. I swear it was just a few texts. A few texts. I cut her off, voice rising. I saw her messages, Sarah. That wasn't just a few texts. That was a full-blown affair, wasn't it? Her eyes welled with tears, but she quickly wiped them away. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I was going to tell you, I swear. I snorted, feeling my stomach turn. Yeah, sure. What, after you'd been screwing him for months? After you sent him naked pictures? You think that's telling the truth? She looked down, silent. I could see the guilt etched deep into her face, but also some kind of stubborn pride, like she still wanted to hold onto her lies. I knew I had to do something drastic. I couldn't let her think she'd gotten away with it, not without a lesson. That's when it hit me, an idea that would hit her where it hurt, something she'd never forget. No violence, no shouting, just cold, calculated revenge. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. You're going to regret this, Sarah. I've got everything now. Evidence, messages, your secrets, and I'm not going to let you get away with it that easily. Her eyes widened again. What are you talking about? I mean it. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what kind of woman you really are. I paused, watching her flinch, including your boss, Mark, especially him. She looked panicked now. Please don't do this. You don't have to. Oh, I think I do, I said darkly. You've been messing around, lying, and pretending everything's fine. But I've got a plan, and it's going to make you regret every second of this. Betrayal. I knew I couldn't confront her directly with everything just yet. I wanted her to feel the weight of what was coming, but I also needed to be sure everything was in place. That night I stayed up planning my next move. I would gather undeniable proof, something that would leave no room for doubt. I set up a few things: a recording app on her phone, a hidden camera in the hotel room, and I even started drafting a message to Mark, something that would reveal everything at the right moment. I knew it was sneaky, maybe even a little underhanded, but I didn't care. This wasn't about petty revenge. It was about justice, about making her see that her lies and betrayal had consequences. And I was going to see her pay. I could feel it in my bones. The betrayal had cut deep, but my plan was coming together. When I finally saw her fall apart, I knew I wouldn't just be breaking her heart. I'd be breaking the illusion of our marriage piece by piece. I looked over at her sitting on the bed, eyes wide and pleading. "You're going to regret this, Sarah, I promise you." And honestly, part of me was already looking forward to her reaction. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. The adrenaline from yesterday's confrontation was still running through my veins, but now I was focused on the actual plan. I couldn't let her get ahead of me. I had to stay sharp, keep everything tight, and make sure I had all my bases covered before I moved. I got up early, slipped out of bed quietly so I wouldn't wake her, and started double-checking everything I'd set up the night before. The recording app on her phone was running smoothly, silently capturing her texts and calls. The hidden camera I'd placed in the hotel room's corner was discreet enough not to be noticed, but I knew it was there, my ace in the hole. I even drafted a message to Mark, something cold and calculated, that would go out at the right moment to reveal her affair publicly. While I was doing all this, I noticed Sarah stirring. She rubbed her eyes, yawning. She looked exhausted, her face still puffy from crying. She sat up and looked around, probably wondering what I was doing. "Awake so early." "Morning," she mumbled, voice hoarse. "Morning," I said, keeping my tone even. "You sleep okay?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, just tired, I guess." I turned to her slowly, feeling a strange mix of calm and fury. "I want to talk again." She looked wary now, her eyes flickering with guilt. "Look, I know I messed up, but I didn't mean for it to get this far, I swear." "Didn't mean for it," I repeated, voice sharp. "You're sending naked texts to your boss, Sarah." "How did it even start? Were you planning to keep this going, or was it just a fling?" She looked down, silent. Her fingers fidgeted with the hem of her shirt. I could see her fighting tears, but she wasn't going to break easy. That only made me more determined. "You're not getting out of this without consequences," I said. "You've betrayed our vows, our family, everything we built, and I've got proof. I've been recording everything, every message, every call, everything." I paused deliberately. "You're going to regret this, Sarah, I promise." Her eyes widened and she finally looked up, voice trembling. "Please don't do anything crazy. I was just stressed and I thought, I don't know, I was stupid." "You're stupid for thinking you could hide this from me forever," I shot back. "But I'm not done, not yet. You're going to see what happens when someone crosses me." I left her sitting there, her face pale, eyes moist, as I headed out to finish my preparations. I knew I had to make the next move soon. I couldn't wait around. The pieces were in motion now, and I needed to finalize everything before I confronted her with the full weight of what I'd uncovered. That afternoon, I sent the message to Mark, something cold, to alert him that I knew everything. I told him I had proof, and that I wasn't going to let this slide. I also scheduled the release of the recordings and the footage from the hidden camera to go out at the same time. It would hit her like a ton of bricks, and I wanted her to see it coming. I spent the rest of the day packing, feeling every nerve in my body tighten. When she finally came into the room that evening, she looked nervous, her hands trembling. She kept glancing at her phone, probably expecting something from Mark or me. "I'm sick of this," I said, voice low and cold. "You're going to regret everything you've done." She looked at me, eyes wide with fear now. "Please just listen." "I've heard enough," I snapped. "You lied, cheated, and played with our family's future. But I've got everything on you now, and it's only a matter of time before the truth comes out." That night I sat with the evidence ready to strike. The moment I pressed send, everything would explode. The fallout was inevitable. I didn't care anymore about saving what was broken. I was about to make sure she understood the cost of her betrayal. And when I finally handed her the consequences, I knew I'd never look at her the same way again. The moment finally arrived. I sat in the dim glow of my laptop, fingers poised over the keyboard, heart pounding like I'd just run a marathon. Everything was set. The messages to Mark, the recordings, the hidden camera footage, all of it ready to go. I knew once I hit send, there was no going back. This was the end game. I looked at Sarah sitting across from me, her face pale, eyes flickering with a mix of fear and defiance. She kept checking her phone, probably waiting for the inevitable, what she thought was just a threat but was really a countdown. I could see her trying to stay composed, but her hands kept trembling and her breathing was shallow. "You really think this will save you?" I asked, voice cold. "You've lied to me for months. Sent him naked pictures, you said you were stressed, you were screwing your boss, and now it ends, today." She looked away, swallowing hard. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I cut her off. "You thought you could do whatever you wanted, hide behind this act of innocence. Well, I'm done playing nice. You're about to see what real consequences look like." With a deep breath, I pressed send on the email to Mark. It went out instantly, screenshots of the messages, the recordings, the videos, everything. I sat back in my chair and watched her face drain of color as the notification popped up on her phone. Her eyes widened as she read the message. "No," she whispered, voice trembling. "Oh, yes," I said, my voice steady now. "And it's not just Mark. I've also sent everything to your boss's email, your work account, your friends, your family, you name it. You wanted to keep this secret. Too late. Everyone's going to know what kind of woman you really are." She jumped up, frantic, grabbing her phone. "What are you doing? Stop." "I'm ending this," I said, voice firm. "Think you can cheat, lie, and spin your way out of it? Nope. You've burned that bridge, Sarah, and now I want you to see the wreckage you've caused." Her face twisted in panic. "Please, I'll do anything, just don't." "Don't what?" I snapped. "Don't ruin your life, sorry, too late for that. You're a liar and a cheat. You don't get to walk away from this clean." She looked like she was about to cry, but I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. She'd pushed me to the edge, and I was finally pushing back hard. In the aftermath, silence fell thick and heavy. I watched her stumble around, clutching her phone, her mind clearly reeling. The truth was out now, and there was no going back. I could feel my heartbeat slowing down, a strange sense of relief washing over me, relief mixed with the sting of betrayal. I stood up, grabbing my keys. "You're done, Sarah. Pack your things. I want you out of this house by the end of the day." Her eyes flashed with anger, tears still streaming down her face. "You're overreacting. This isn't the end." "Oh, it is," I interrupted, voice sharp. "You chose this, remember? Your choices brought you here, and now you'll have to live with the fallout." I handed her a bag, and she looked at me with a mixture of shock and fury. I could see her trying to muster some last-ditch plea, but I didn't have the patience. I'd already made my decision. As I watched her leave, I felt the weight lift slightly. The betrayal was brutal, but I'd finally taken control. I'd exposed her lies, her infidelity, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. Walking out the door, I took a deep breath. The house suddenly felt emptier, colder, but I knew I'd be okay. I had finally reclaimed my dignity. The betrayal had hurt, but this was my victory. And as I closed that door behind her, I realized one thing. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to confront the darkness head-on. The house was silent now, except for the distant sounds of her car pulling out of the driveway. I sat on the edge of the living room couch, feeling every muscle in my body tense and finally relax all at once. The adrenaline had faded, replaced by an overwhelming sense of relief and exhaustion. I'd done what I needed to do, exposed her, ended it, and taken back control of my life. I looked around at the empty space where she'd been only hours ago. Her clothes, still on the bedroom floor, looked so insignificant now. The betrayal ran deeper than any material thing she'd left behind. I'd lost a wife, yes, but I'd also gained clarity. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I could breathe again. I reached for my phone and dialed a number I'd been saving for moments like this. When the voice on the other end picked up, I said, simply, "It's over. She's gone. The house is mine now. I want the divorce started as soon as possible." There was a pause on the line, then a steady, professional voice responded, "Understood. I'll get the paperwork ready. You're doing the right thing." As I hung up, I felt a strange weight lift from my shoulders. It wasn't just that she'd betrayed me. It was that I finally took action. I stopped being the husband believing in fairy tales. I faced the truth head-on and made sure she paid for her choices. I knew there would be pain ahead, dividing everything, figuring out life without her. But at least now I had closure. I'd shown her that cheating, lying, and sneaking around had consequences. I'd taken back my dignity in a way she never expected. Looking around the room, I thought about the years we shared, the moments I'd cherished, and the lies I'd uncovered. It hurt to know it was all a lie, but somehow this was also a kind of liberation. I was finally free from her deception. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, the bitter taste matching how I felt inside. I didn't bother trying to numb the hurt. What I really needed was to accept it. I knew I'd rebuild stronger now without her dragging me down. My final act was to gather her keys, her jewelry, a few personal belongings, and place them in a box. I grabbed a pen and paper, writing a short note. "Goodbye, Sarah. I hope you find what you're looking for. I won't be waiting." I left the box by the door and took one last look around. The house was quiet, but I could finally hear myself think clearly. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill my lungs, and then I closed the door behind me. Walking away from that house, I realized that sometimes betrayal is a brutal wake-up call, but it can also be the push you need to reclaim your life and find your own path. I'd been broken, yes, but I'd also been reborn. And now I was ready to move forward, alone, but stronger than ever.